Oh, yes, the time has come for us to talk about finding business partners. I know that this is probably the number one desire of so many people who are launching their business. And so today, this series and this webinar is going to focus on inviting, presenting, and identifying prospects to join your business. So let's dive in. Okay, the first thing I really love to do when I'm looking at who is going to be a potential business partner is trying to kind of go through and look at like what qualities, who would I even be thinking about that I want to do business with. And so these are kind of some of the questions that I ask myself as I'm looking at my list of people. I'm going to go through and say, okay, who do I know that is relationship oriented? They're well connected, they're influential, they have a magnetic personality. Maybe someone who's really open to or lives a natural, healthy, active lifestyle. Someone who's an achiever in their life, they're a doer, they're very goal oriented or ambitious. They're positive, passionate, motivating, they inspire other people, they have this real abundance mindset that's very healthy and they love thinking that way. Maybe they're purpose or mission driven. Maybe they're very service oriented, a giver, someone who just loves helping other people. Maybe possibly is someone who's entrepreneurial. They're experienced in sales. Maybe they have a sales background or they're very established in a certain niche. They also could be someone who's just in a phase of life that supports building a business. Someone who's 30 to 50 years old, maybe they're a mom, they are a family man, they have a very supportive spouse and family. And I really love this because these are people that would fall in our target market of people that we want to be business partners with. Now, it doesn't mean that like they have to have every single one of these, like as a tally mark next to their name. Oh, this person has this and this and this and this. Oh, they only have 3, right? But these are qualities that we really look for in potential business partners that time and time again, we've seen through top leaders that these are the characteristics that keep coming up. Maybe there's also people, and I think a lot of times we have to look at this category, who have a financial need, right? They're money motivated or they're looking to improve their finances. Maybe they're looking for a better way to retirement because they're not happy with what their retirement is going to look like. So they want to build that residual income. So I want you to take a look at your list that you've created and start identifying people who meet any of these criteria who would be potential business partners for you. Sometimes as you're even hearing some of these, new people might pop into your brain and you think to yourself, man, oh, I didn't even think about this person. And so let some of that brainstorming happen where you start adding new people to your list as you look at some of these qualities. So when we think about recruiting, a lot of times people find this to be difficult. Now, you may be someone who's like, dude, I got this. Like, I am a master recruiter and I have no problem inviting people to join me in the business. And if that's how you feel, high five, I love it. Go and do it and teach people to do it, right? But a lot of people tend to get a little hesitant in this area. They'll talk for days and days and days about the product, but they don't bring up the business opportunity. And so one of the reasons that I see that make recruiting hard and that we have learned in a lot of different sales exposures is that most people, we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves to say, are we even trying? Are we even extending the invitation for people that we're talking to, for people on our list? Have we made an invitation? So that's like a self-check for us to be honest and say, am I even trying? Okay. The second one is, do I want to be a leader and am I good enough to be a leader? A lot of times when we come into a business, maybe we haven't had business experience, right? Or we're never been in a position where we've been a leader. I think if you think really hard about your life, I'm sure there have been circumstances where you have been a leader of people. And even if you haven't, everybody has a desire to want to be a good leader and to feel like that they can help the people that they bring in as business partners. And so we're going to help to address some of that today. Also, sometimes what can make it feel difficult for people is that they really aren't sure what to say, and then maybe they dump information, right? Like you're meeting with someone and you're just like, spitting out information and it's totally unclear and it seems really complicated and the person's looking at you and just kind of backing away, right? So you feel a little bit hesitant because you're not really sure how to have a simple conversation with someone that helps them to see the potential. So the other thing that gets people a little nervous is like, oh shoot, well, what do I do if they say yes? Like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do next, right? So we're going to help you today to really outline overcoming some of these. And I want you to think about something too, okay? I can look back at my own experience here. I can look back at my life and think to myself, what if I was never given the opportunity? What if it was never extended to me? Could I be where I am today? And the answer to that is no. So one day or day one, we have to let people make that decision themselves, right? So I'm so thankful that even though the person who was introducing me, it was one of her first times and she was unsure, right? And I was kind of blowing her off for a while, that she was persistent and she extended that invitation and she didn't give up on me. I'm so thankful for that because it's truly changed my life. So our job is to offer it and their job is to decide. We have to allow them to make an informed decision, okay? So I'm going to help you today to get better at these things. So again, we're going to go through some tips, and you guys know I'm like all about setting up this appointment, right? So let's talk about setting up an appointment for a business conversation. Here's an example of one. Usually what I do is set up a time to go over why you would want to do this, a little about the company, what you would do, how compensation works, and then you can decide for yourself. Either way, it's okay with me. I just want you to make the most informed decision. So this is an example of what I would do to set up an appointment with someone. Now, you know, how often are we totally leaving this conversation out at the end of our intro classes, at the end of our follow-up appointments? You know, when somebody asks about the business, like how many times are we leaving this stuff out, right? That's an important thing. Why do we want to do this? Well, first of all, just like with our sales conversations, we want to be professional. If we want to attract high quality professional people, we have to make sure we are the example of professionalism. So we don't need to recruit on the fly. This is an important conversation that's going to take some time. And so we want to be professional in how we handle setting up that time to discuss it with someone. I love, again, that just like with our, all of our appointments we're setting, we're giving them an agenda so they know exactly what this conversation is going to entail. Give them the 2 times and remove pressure so we're putting the ball in their court. A lot of times this overcomes just setting up an appointment, is overcoming one of the biggest things that keep people from making an invite for a business presentation, is because they don't want to pester their friends. They don't want to come across in a way that's all about them, right? But if we're removing pressure and we're giving the agenda and we're telling them we want them to make the most informed decision, that is really bringing value. And that's putting it all in their court and making it about them and not about us. So that completely removes that thing in the back of our head that maybe we have that's keeping us from having these discussions. So my second tip is that we need to, when we are having our appointment, we need to stay consistent with the agenda, okay? So here's an example. Today, we're going to go over why you would want to do this, a little bit about the company, what you would actually be doing, how the compensation plan works, and then you can decide for yourself if it's a good fit for you. Either way, it's okay with me. I just want to make sure that you make the most informed decision. How does that feel? So we're going to kick off our conversation with this exact same agenda to let people know this is going to be our conversation, and again, to set that tone. Okay? So let's go through the third tip, which is we have to gain input. To give real service, You must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. I love this quote. So we have to gain input, just like we did in our sales conversation, for what's important to them as we're going through the business opportunity. Because if we're just dumping a bunch of information to them without finding this out, we may be missing a big piece of what they want to hear about. So these are some good questions to ask. What do you want to make sure that we go over today? Okay, catch me up. Why is it important for you to go over this? Okay, what else do you want to make sure we cover? Okay, what else? It's that same thing when we're uncovering their needs in that sales conversation. And then this is a great question to ask. What do you already know about how network marketing works? And you know what? Sometimes I think we're under the impression that everybody has a bad taste in their mouth about network marketing. And you know what? I didn't have a bad taste in my mouth necessarily about network marketing. I just didn't really understand it, and it wasn't a business model I had used before. So I just didn't really understand or get it. So I wasn't opposed to that being an avenue of making money. I truly just didn't know. But if someone had assumed that I had that as a negative thing, and they went into this whole thing about network marketing and why it's not scummy because they assumed I thought it was scummy, I'd be like, oh, do people think this is scummy? So I think if we already can ask this question up front and let them tell us, like, yeah, well, actually, I had a business before and it wasn't profitable at all, or my friend got screwed over, or actually, I don't know a lot about network marketing, but I hear it's a really good business model. So, those are things that we need to uncover so that we're gathering input and gaining input from the person we're talking to before we go into what we're going to deliver as far as content. All right. So, this next tip is huge, you guys, because we tend to talk in a language that people do not understand, right? We're using all the doTERRA lingo, and they may not be familiar with all of that. So a good rule of thumb, and in a lot of personal development books that you read, they'll say, listen, if an 8-year-old can't understand it, then it's too complicated. So I'm going to help give you an example today of a really simple way to explain what it is that we do. I don't want to overwhelm you with details, so I typically just give an overview of compensation. If you want a super detailed explanation, I can give you some great resources. Which would you prefer? A super detailed explanation or a simple one? And again, remember, they usually pick the second option. And most of the time in that first exposure, people are going to want just something simple. Now, some people want to dive into the details after they get the simple. And you can utilize the build guide for that. You can utilize the videos on doTERRA.com that are available to get a really in-depth explanation about the compensation plan. So even if you don't feel well-versed to be able to do that, there are videos that are already done for you to explain the comp plan in detail. So you'll continue. In the short term, most of your income will be 20% commissions from new customers. For the long term, you will train a team because you can't sell all the stuff yourself. You will earn a commission and bonuses from what they sell and from what your customers continue to buy, just like any other business. How does that sound? So do you see how simple the explanation is of how we make money here, right? Extremely simple. Okay, let's get to this next one. People love choices, right? And I know for myself, and even for my 6-year-old, right? If I just tell her what to do all the time, she's a little resistant. If somebody is telling me what to do all the time, then I also become a little resistant. So it's good to offer people choices so that they're actually choosing their path. Right? We want you guys here watching this that are starting your business. We want you to run your business. When you start a business, you become the CEO of your business. And we don't want you to feel like you have to be told what to do every single step of the way forever in your business, because that's going to be difficult for you to ever lead other people, right? And the function of leadership is to produce more leaders. We aren't just trying to produce a bunch of followers. And something that I'm very passionate about is letting people make their own choices, because that is the beauty of entrepreneurship. Usually people are choosing a path like this because they don't want, corporate telling them what to do. They don't want to be confined to a certain, way of life or decision-making process. So it's good to give people options. Here are some examples of simple choices you can give them that help you, again, to clarify and let them choose their own path as they're thinking about joining doTERRA as a business. Do you want to do this part-time or full-time? Would you prefer one-on-ones, classes, or a combination of both? Do you need additional information, or are you ready to get started? Right? So we're gathering information about how they felt during our conversation, right? During our explanation of things, we're gathering information to know, do they need more information, or do they feel pretty good about what has already been presented to them? So let's look at how we finish this up, okay? A lot of times we're so hard on ourselves thinking that maybe we should be making money before we do this, or, we have to know it all before we go and present the business to someone. But you guys, I want you to know something, that if the girl who introduced it to me had waited to that point, I would have missed the window of opportunity for myself, where the timing was good for me, right? And so we have to think about the things that we do know. You love the product. You know people who need it. You can do this. You want to help other people. You know enough, and you can make money doing this. This is life-changing. And I'm going to tell you that if you know that this is life-changing, if you've seen people whose lives have been changed from it, and because I'm right here, then there becomes a personal responsibility to share it. And someone is waiting for you to share this message. Someone is waiting to have an opportunity to change their life, to make their situation different, to find their gifts and talents, to find joy again by having a platform to help others and create income for their family and for themselves, to become independent and resourceful and be able to contribute in a meaningful way. People are craving that, okay? So please, please remember that your knowledge of this as an opportunity is enough to go and share it. And if you're worried about it, practice it with your upline. Practice it with your mentor. Bring in a third party that will help you. But do you know that people want to hear from you? People want to know what you are doing and how they can find value and their own path through it also. So please, please, please open up your mouth. Make these appointments. Share the opportunity. There are tools everywhere. Go on empoweredsuccess.com. Look at the example of going through the build guide. Look at my example here, right? That's extremely simple. And practice. Put it into play. I went and I found business partners before I made one penny. Before I made one penny, I didn't even know what I was doing, okay? But they knew that I had a vision and that I saw what it could create and a need they had in their life, right? And they trusted me enough to come, and they trusted themselves enough to try. So don't take that choice from people. My challenge to you is to take action. If you're doing this part-time, schedule one business presentation a week. If you're doing this full-time, schedule 2 business presentations a week. Get this message out. There are people who need it. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you guys choose today to take action this week and every week moving forward. And I promise you, if you show up in your business that way, the financial rewards will come as you consistently show up, serve in all these areas, and make it meaningful because you've identified what people's needs are. Okay? Good job, you guys. See you on the next recording.